Hello, people. Do you want the symptoms of shame? Are you ready for the symptoms of shame? Because you might have symptoms of shame, but that's okay because we have to start somewhere, right? What is the first rule to addiction? Hi, I'm Rebecca. I was an addict. I don't call myself an addict anymore because I'm not an addict anymore. I'm an addict to actually learning myself and learning emotions and learning more about God. Anyway, symptoms of shame. Let's own our shame, shall we? Hi, I'm Rebecca. I have dealt with toxic shame for most of my life. Anyway, let's heal it, let's transform it, let's see Jesus do a mighty work through it, shall we? Because he redeemed it on the cross for you. Okay, symptoms of shame. Shame manifests itself in diverse and contradictory ways. For instance, hair trigger anger, as well as severe passivity, debilitating depression, as well as frenetic overachievement, arrogance, as well as inferiority, can all result from destructive shame. Hence, it's helpful to list some of the most significant characteristics of shame. Here we go. Number 1, chronic low self-worth. Shame-filled people do not accept their God-given worth. They feel inferior to others, inherently flawed, and unalterably defective. Unalterably defective. That's, some of these words, forgive me, I'm not out of, some words I just can't read. Chronic low-grade depression. I actually still suffer from this. Those who view themselves as permanently inferior or defective develop a sense of hopelessness that often leads to depression. Insecure and jealous. Feelings of inferiority and worthlessness create great insecurity, which leads in turn to jealousy of others. When others succeed or are complimented, it triggers insecurity in a shame-filled person. Prone to compare and compete. Shame-filled people constantly compare themselves to others and must compete to stay ahead. Unable to accept criticism. Because shame-filled people reject themselves, they assume everyone else rejects them as well. Even constructive criticism triggers self-rejection and is perceived as a wholesale attack. Shame-filled people cannot separate who they are from what they have done. Quick to deflect and blame onto others. Insecurity and self-rejection cause shame-filled people to flinch from accepting blame for their mistakes. Thus, they constantly blame others for their own failures. Feel like they don't belong. Shame-filled people feel as though they are defective and different from the rest of the world in their minds. Other people are normal, but they are different and do not belong. Self-focused. Shame-filled people are so insecure they constantly focus on themselves. They overinflate their place in life. All comments are interpreted as being about them. If they are in a group, they assume everyone is looking at them. Thus, they are unable to freely love and serve others. I still struggle with that too. Insecure and superficial. Since shame-filled people are insecure about what's on the inside, they rigidly control what others see on the outside. They deeply fear what others will discover, the truth about their inner defectiveness. And so they're desperate to create an appearance that everything in their life is okay. Addiction struggles. Chronic shame is extremely painful and often leads to compulsive or even addictive behavior, which can temporarily anesthetize emotional pain. Shame can often lead to alcoholism, sexual addiction, and eating disorders. Long for, but also fear intimacy. Shame-filled people long for intimacy, but are deeply afraid of their defectiveness will be exposed. Thus, they tend to sabotage relationships as they begin to get intimate. Hypercritical of others. Shame-filled people project their shame onto others by being hypercritical. They cannot accept God's grace for themselves, nor they can extend God's grace to others. Emotionally disconnected and/or dishonest. Because shame-filled people are full of painful negative feelings, they detach from their own feelings. They don't know what they really feel. Emotions they find unacceptable are transformed into more acceptable emotions. For instance, a shame-filled man often has a hard time admitting he is a disappointment or fearful, so he'll act angry instead. Shallow. Because shame-filled people intensely dislike themselves, they do not engage in healthy reflection or introspection. They constantly hide from others, so they're typically unable to offer more than a shallow, surface-level conversation or relationship. Exhausted. Living a shame-filled life is tremendously draining. Great energy is expended to keep up a facade so that one's real self is never exposed. Shame strips people of hope and joy and leaves them exhausted and spent. Now, if any one of these came up, you should probably heal from shame. Anyway, Jesus loves you. There's a reason why you're seeing this video. It is because Jesus wants to bring things to light so that he can expose it, so that he can transform it into the very image and the very way that he wants you to experience life, because shame has kept you bound. And it is time to escape that reality that the devil has locked you in. Anyway, be blessed, reach out. Please say in the comments how this video has helped you in any way. More content is coming, I promise. And I am creating an intensive workbook because of this, because people really we need a resource to really help ourselves. Not gonna lie, we need to start owning ourselves. And that is what this ministry is about.